There's been a debate over language that is fast descending into defamation. This seems to be the case today as DMK MP resorted to slandering Hindi and Hindi speakers yet again. He did not even hesitate in hurling a casteist slur. TKS Elangovan today said, believe it or not, that Hindi is a language of underdeveloped states, but that is not where he stopped. He says that if Tamils were to start speaking Hindi, that would actually reduce them to the status of shudras.
இந்தி நம்மை சூத்திரனாக்கி விடும். இந்தி எந்த நன்மையும் நமக்கு செய்யாது. நான் ஒரு பட்டியல் சொல்கிறேன். இந்த பட்டியலை கேளுங்கள். மேற்கு வங்காளம் வளர்ந்த மாநிலமா இல்லையா? அதற்கு கீழே ஒரிசா வளர்ந்த மாநிலமா இல்லையா? அதற்கு கீழே ஆந்திர பிரதேசம் தெலுங்கானா வளர்ந்த மாநிலங்களா இல்லையா? அதற்கு கீழே தமிழ்நாடு வளர்ந்த மாநிலமா இல்லையா? மேற்கே கேரளா, அதற்கு மேலே மராட்டியம் கர்நாடகம், அதற்கு மேலே மராட்டியம், அதற்கு மேலே குஜராத், அதற்கு மேலே பஞ்சாப். இவையெல்லாம் வளர்ந்த மாநிலங்களா இல்லையா? ஏன் இதை கேட்கிறேன் என்றால் இந்த மாநிலங்களில் இந்தி அந்த மக்களுடைய தாய்மொழி இல்லை. வளராத மாநிலம்னா மத்திய பிரதேசம், உத்தரப்பிரதேசம், பீகார், ராஜஸ்தான், இன்னும் இப்பொழுது புதிதாக பிரிந்த 2-3 மாநிலங்கள். எதற்கு அப்புறம் நான் இந்தியை படிக்கணும்?
In fact, Times Now eventually confronted Mr. Elangovan, who had absolutely no remorse about his comments. In fact, he even defended them.
What Thiruvalluvar said in Tamil is, all men are born equal. When this thing failed is after the entry of the North Indian languages, Sanskrit and allied languages, which entered the south, also brought the Manu Dharma concept with them, and that was introduced here, and people were divided into 4 classes. So if Hindi comes, the language, I didn't mean the people, if the language comes, it will bring the culture, its own culture along with it, and make us shudras. That was what I meant. When I have a language which is rich in culture, which speaks about equanimity, why should I follow a language which does not speak about equanimity? That was my question.
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Mr. Chief Rajashekharan, lawyer, joins us along with Vikram Manar, spokesperson of VCK. But my first question, Anurag Naidu, author, is here with us. My first question is to you, Khushbu. You heard what Mr. Elangovan said. Did you buy it in terms of clarification?
Definitely not. You cannot buy this argument, what Mr. TKS Elangovan has said. With all due respect to Mr. TKS Elangovan, let me remind him that if he's talking about equality, then the last party to think about equality is DMK. If they believe in equality, if they do not believe, if Mr. TKS Elangovan says that what he said was not about the people, it was not a slur against casteism, then let me remind him that let them have the guts to scrap what they talk about minority differences. They have the reserved seats, they have the party alliances which talks about I'm hearing my voice back to me.
We'll just have it fixed.
It's very disturbing.
We'll have it fixed. Please go on.
Yeah, so they have their own party alliances where it talks about about people from backward class, people from a different caste, and all this. And even when you look at the party leaders they choose in every state, even when at the times of election, it is about the caste, it's about the community. If they belong to the same community from that area, that is how they choose the religion, the caste, the community. Everything comes in when they're choosing people during election times. So what are they trying to tell us? That they believe in equality? Crap, absolutely crap. Let them have the courage and say that there's not going to be any reserved seats for anybody. Even Ooty is reserved when it comes under reserved constituency. Okay. Tell them that it's going to be equal. We are going to choose people basis on the merit and not on the basis of the caste, community or religion when it comes to elections. I mean, you cannot fool the people. And let me tell Mr. Elangovan himself, he has been a parliamentarian for many, many years. Mr. Elangovan, sir, I know you too well. It's very surprised that you speak this language, but I also know that you do speak Hindi, and so do your other leaders and your MPs. So don't bring in this anti-Hindi content here in Tamil Nadu. More than 3 million people speak Hindi and they understand Hindi in Tamil Nadu.
And more than being anti-Hindi now, this is downright casteist. What is wrong with being a Shudra? What does that even mean?
Why can't you be a Shudra? Why can't you declare yourself a Shudra?
I don't have a problem. If I was born a Shudra, I would be very happy. What is wrong with it? Is this challenge supposed to be some kind of insult?
You are Brahmin community, and
Why?
you want other Shudras to be feeling proud for it.
If you're born into it, there's nothing to be ashamed of. Are you saying Shudras should be ashamed?
Somebody should be Shudra, somebody should be Brahmana, somebody should be Vaishya, somebody should be Kshatriya. Who are you actually?
Who are you to say that Shudras are supposed to feel ashamed?
Everybody is equal.
Who are you? Who are you?
Everybody is equal. So why blame that?
How Manu is ill-treating Shudras. How Manu has depicted laws to ill-treat Shudras.
Manu doesn't exist anymore, sir, and nobody follows the Manu Smriti. But your mind certainly has that kind of perverted sense that certain castes are supposed to feel ashamed and they are inferior.
The statue of Manu in Rajasthan High Court.
You can't just keep shouting Manu, Manu and get your way to the debate.
So
Talk
many
sense.
judgments
Please.
Are being quoted.
Please understand.
Have been quoted in so many judgments.
Where are you bringing in Manu Smriti? Answer for Mr. Elangovan.
TKS Elangovan said.
Answer for Mr. Elangovan.
Padmaja,
Is he suggesting that Shudras are subhuman? Silence. Silence for 10 seconds. Vikraman, my simple question to you is, when Mr. Elangovan seems to suggest that speaking Hindi reduces people to a Shudra status, is he saying that Shudras are subhuman?
Shudras are subhuman according to Manu Smriti. You should go Manu Smriti. We are not saying...
Does Mr. Elangovan read the Manu Smriti? Does he follow the Manu Smriti? Does he believe in the Manu Smriti? Then this is news for me that the DMK MPs are reading and following the Manu Smriti and what the Manu Smriti says about the caste system. It's quite sad because most of India doesn't follow Manu Smriti. If the DMK is following the Manu Smriti, then good luck to you.
Language called Tamil. I want to differ from Ms. Kushbu, who has been that 6 million people in Tamil Nadu speak Hindi. Does she have any data for that?
Sir, don't shift the goalpost. I will stick to the point and ask you, why did you insult an entire caste and make a casteist comment? Who are you to say that why this person is a Shudra, so sad, we don't want to be reduced to Shudra?
Who are you to impose your culture and language on us? Who are you to impose?
Who are you to impose your idea of caste on people?
Not imposing anything.
Who are you?
We want to live independently.
Abhi, you brought your Manu Smriti. Now you are insisting that everyone follows Manu Smriti.
Kushbu. Who are you to impose caste system on us?
Nobody is imposing.
No. I think they don't have a clarity in what they are saying. They're not clear about it. Padmaja, the problem is they're not very clear.
Let me just silence Mr. Vikraman for a second. Just to try and understand, sir, are you saying that caste does not exist in Tamil Nadu? Let's get that straight. That in the egalitarian DMK ruled state, there is no caste?
We are not denying that. It is existing. We are not denying that.
Then why are you deriding a caste?
How is it so related to what?
Why are you deriding a caste? Why did you tell Shudras that, oh, we don't want to be reduced to your status? It exists, right? Imagine the people who are in your state who are made to feel like they are subhuman. Why are you deriding them?
Madam, with due respect, Brahmins have stated all Tamilians except Brahmins are Shudras, and they indignity.
Brahmins aren't even in the debate. Mr. Elangovan and you are, sir. Brahmins didn't say a damn word in this whole debate.
We do not want to accept we are Shudras.
You made Shudras some kind of, thing to be looked down on, and now you're giving gyan on Brahmins. Why are Brahmins the villain? No Brahmin has spoken in the whole debate.
The inhabitants of this country. Aryans invaded this country and brought caste system in it. That is what he was referring.
Who invaded Tamil Nadu and got caste system there?
Brahmins. Brahmins wanted everybody to be Dravida.
Somehow you make a casteist comment, yet Brahmins are the villain. Khushbu, please respond to this, and I'm bringing Anurag Naidu. This is a joke.
No, I think I don't understand. Mr. Vikraman doesn't understand. Mr. Vikraman, you're making a joke of yourself on this national debate. Please understand, you have to get a debate clearly. When I speak that there are 3 million people, there's a complete data to it. You need to understand the data. You need to read well before you come to. And if you say that why Shudras, you go through it. I cannot present you here. Go through it. There's something called internet. Please go through it. Get the facts right before you come on a debate and not to make a fool of yourself. Secondly, when you talk about Shudras, is Mr. T.K.S. Elangovan trying to say that people all over the country, more than 44% who speak Tamil, they are Shudras? If that is the case, fine. I speak Hindi and Urdu. If I'm a Shudra, I'm fine with it. I'm a human and I'm fine being called myself a human, then being, given a slur of being a or a Brahmin or anything else for that matter. I am a human, and we, the people of this country, believe in humanity, believe in equality, and that is what we are against it. This is not about the language. One of the DMK ministers says that if you speak Hindi, you become Pani Puri walas. Let me tell you, Mr. Ponmadi, the educational minister himself, actually eats Pani Puris. Do you know that? So, and he has Hindi-speaking people working in his house. The same Mr. T.K.S. Elangovan, who speaks about Shudras, that Hindi-speaking people will reduce us to being Shudras, speaks Hindi. You're all DMK MPs, you're all DMK ministers, you enjoy the perks of being at the center, and then you say that it's about Shudras. The first thing, if DMK thinks that Hindi-speaking, it will reduce them to Shudras, they should cut off all the ties with Congress with whom they have had. Mr. Rahul Gandhi doesn't even say Tamil Nadu, he says Tamil, which is absolutely wrong. Correct the person where you enjoy all the perks that the central state is. But let me tell you, people who speak,
thinking you are muted, Mr. Vikraman.
No, you are not muted. You're not muted. We can hear you. You're not unmuted. We can hear you.
Only now I am
we can hear you. You're unmuted.
Do not play with my mic, okay?
Please understand, people who speak Hindi, nobody's imposing a language on you. We take pride. The Prime Minister has said that we take pride in talking about Tamil, and at every given opportunity, he has spoken about Tamil.
You know, I have to say, just since you're such a stickler for facts, let me remind you, and let me get an Anurag Naidu on this. Mr. Vikraman, you have such a low opinion of people who speak Hindi. You think they are Pani Puri sellers. You think that they are Shudras because you have a very low opinion, obviously, of Shudras. And yet, in your election campaign, you found a man from Bihar to lead your entire election campaign. A Hindi-speaking man from Bihar led your entire election campaign, sir. So, Hindi speakers don't just sell Pani Puri, they also sell DMK to the voter. So, let's just remember that always, all right? Anurag Naidu.
Padmaja, I think Mr. Vikraman, I think he's following the philosophy. If you can't convince somebody, confuse them. So he's clearly confused on the subject, and he has come clearly not prepared on the subject. The Honorable MP, the mindset is an absolutely poor and rotten mindset, and I see no problem in Speaker taking note of it and issuing him a show cause. In fact, he should be sent to a Varna understanding issue, a humanitarian spiritual journey. The Speaker should do it. And what is the underdevelopment all about? Is it that the cases of murders for intercaste marriages that we see in Tamil Nadu, is it the development that you're really talking about, sir? We've had several debates in the past where people are literally left, right and center for having an intercaste marriage, and it's one of the biggest problems in the society in Tamil Nadu. And we all support that. It's a lovely state. It's got the oldest tradition. It's got the oldest language. But is it the development that you're talking about just because you're 43 billion more in GDP compared to Uttar Pradesh, and Uttar Pradesh stands at underdevelopment? What about Maharashtra, which is 250 billion more than your GDP? It's not a comparison. Things don't work like that.
And just by the way, when you're raging about these reprehensible Hindi-speaking people imposing caste on you, Mr. Rajashekharan, you would be actually unhappy to know that Tamil Nadu ranks pretty high when it comes to caste-based violence. And most of the people who are victims are Dalits. So it's not any Hindi speaker who is coming and imposing caste on you. Caste-based violence is very high in Tamil Nadu as it is, Mr. Rajashekharan.
I think that's the development they're talking about, Padmaja.
Padmaja, see, I think Mr. TKS Elangovan DMK MP's statement has been blown out of proportion, because if you just hear the whole speech of Elangovan, he says the developed states don't speak Hindi. The underdeveloped states like Rajasthan, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh are speaking Hindi. That's what the whole crux of the whole issue. So going by that merit, he was right. But I don't agree with him on the Shudra comment, because that was unwarranted. Anyway, he has a point of justification when he was confronted by your reporter. He said yes,
Okay,
because the Manusmriti,
can I come in?
Sir, you know, when caught in a bind, it is very easy to just blame everything on the Manusmriti. The point is, there was no Brahmin, there was no Manu, and there was no Manusmriti in this entire conversation. This was the mindset of the MP of a Dravidian party, and it speaks volumes when they think like this about a certain caste. They have to explain themselves. Thanks very much, all gentlemen, and Khushbu for having joined me. Thanks for watching.